Hello everybody, welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host Lorien Gamaroff, and my co-host is the greatest Kage Ntshingila ever to walk the earth. Kage, how are you doing?
I'm getting yourself.
Sorry, I forgot to say welcome to the show.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome, Kage.
I kind of dig how you actually introduced me, man. It's making me feel like a big shot. Yeah.
Well, my mom's your biggest fan. She watches the show.
Oh yeah. Hi, moms.
Yeah, she wouldn't watch it with just me on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining me. It's nice to be able to also, just talk about these subjects and these topics that come up when we talk about crypto.
Yeah.
And just try and delve into it from a non-technical point of view. I mean, you're an artist yourself. You're a designer and a creative director.
Yeah.
And but you're still interested in these things, and so I think you're the perfect person to have that chat with, because most of our users out there are not technical.
Definitely, yeah.
They're just living their lives, and they hear about crypto, they hear about Bitcoin, and they want to get involved. They, on one hand, hear about the positive stuff about it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's always all the negative stuff, the scamming and the all that illegal activity.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to have a show where we're not just giving the technical background.
Definitely.
Having it from a user's perspective.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It is, because like you're saying, Mr. G, I'm not as technical as you are in the space, but my understanding of it is just how it also involves everyone. So also me having to vouch for it is me understanding it from that aspect, that this is a tech that everyone should be actually involved in, because it makes daily lives easy, transactions are faster, you can get to access stuff that you never were able to via the BSV blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. So that just goes to show Bitcoin was never meant to be this exclusive technology. I know you've mentioned it many times, especially when it comes to Bitcoin SV.
Yeah.
It's not an exclusive technology where you have to have a certain income to be able to use it because the fees are so high.
Yeah.
You need to have a certain level of technical expertise or business expertise or something. This is for the man and the woman in the street.
Yeah.
In fact, not even the man or woman, the teenager in the street.
Teenager.
If you are a teenager and you want to go spend your money online or with Uber or buy airtime and data, and you don't have a credit card, that's what Centbee is for. It's for you. And if you don't understand it, if you think that it's just about investing, why do you care about such a thing? I mean, normal people don't have money they want to go and invest in risky assets.
Yeah.
So this show is about showing you how it's a tool for human beings.
Yeah.
And for people who want to be able to enable their lives, but don't want to have to get wound up in this whole thing about crypto anarchy and decentralization and hiding money away from governments. Yeah. They're not interested in that stuff. They just want something that is useful to them.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that we also try to sort of catch the younger crowd at an early stage, because, transactions start, we always say, transactions are also a social element of connecting with people. So if we actually started at an early age of trying to, activate the young crowd, it's something that will sort of leverage them even in, at more advanced stages of their lives, because transactions never stop anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here we have a wonderful technology, just like there are so many wonderful technologies out there, that the earlier you can understand it, the quicker you'll be able to use it and it'll be able to improve your life.
Yeah.
If you don't understand Bitcoin and all these other things that are trying to detract from Bitcoin's goal to enable people, then you're going to be left behind. And you're not going to have the opportunity. So every young person out there should be thinking to themselves, I need to learn. And in fact, when I think about my kids, their whole lives is just, they got one job, except for their chores, of course. But that one job is to learn. To try and learn as much as you can, so that when you get out into the big, scary, wide world, you've got information that can empower you.
You're equipped enough,
You're equipped. That's it, exactly. So this show is a show that can equip you. And if you take what we're saying seriously, and you don't just trust us and believe us, you can go and verify everything that we're saying, of course. But if you take what we're saying seriously, then this can empower you. and it's something that can add value to your life. And it's not about getting in early in terms of buying a crypto asset and then waiting for the price to go up. That's not how you're going to benefit from this. You're going to be lucky if that goes right for you, but more likely than not, it's going to go wrong. And what have you learned?
Nothing.
You've learned a mistake and how to avoid a mistake, but you haven't learned what to do. So that's the point of the Centbee Show. It's to give you that information and point you in the right direction so that you can make those right decisions.
Definitely, Mr. G. With that being said, these guys need to check out the app on the stores. You know, just explore the power of BSV with Centbee, guys. Don't miss out. Come on now. You know the drill by now. Subscribe, show some love, yeah? Mobile money on fire. So yeah, Ms. G, we haven't spoken about payment requests in a while, and for me it's quite an important feature because, I mean, it enables people to actually start receiving BSV through their Centbee wallet.
That's right. If you have a Centbee wallet and you want to start receiving money, Centbee has a very cool payment request feature. On the main screen there's the receive button. And if you tap that receive button, you are then able to insert an amount of money that you want to receive.
A memo.
Somebody could then go and scan that QR code. So if we were sitting next to each other and we didn't know each other, we weren't contacts, then I could just go and generate a QR code on the Centbee wallet on the receive screen, put in an amount, put a memo in there or a note to say what it's for, and then another person can just go and scan that QR code. Or, I mean, you could send that QR code and somebody could scan it remotely. But if you have a Centbee contact, so the way you would do it is when you install Centbee, what Centbee does is it goes through your phone contacts and it checks to see which of your contacts are also on Centbee. And then if you have so you and I are contacts on Centbee, and if I want to request money from you, all I need to do is just go and put in the amount on the receive screen, and then I tap the request button, and then it will pop up with all my Centbee contacts. And then it's just a simple matter of tapping the contact, and the contact will then get a notification in their Centbee notifications saying Lorien is requesting a payment. And that's when the user can then look at it and decide, do I want to pay this person? And as soon as they hit pay, that's when a Bitcoin transaction will be created and then sent to the person who's asking for that money.
So initially if the request is sent, like I as a user who received it need to sort of initiate payment. It's not like one of those where me sending it's like a debit of some sort. But
correct. Okay. That's not possible. So the whole payment is of course very quick. If somebody makes that payment, then they will be paying it with BSV. And we all know that BSV transaction fees are very low.
Super quick.
And you will receive the money instantly without having to go through the confirm process. Now, just to talk about that briefly, normally what happens is when a transaction gets confirmed, that means it's been put into a block, and then another block has been created on top of that, and we call that a confirmation. And the idea around that is that you can then have certainty that your transaction has been processed by a miner, and now subsequent transactions are coming in and subsequent blocks are being created and they're being attached to your current block of transactions, and we call that a confirmation. So it's just a way to have certainty that your transaction is being processed into a block. But with BSV, because there is no contention for block space, because the spaces are essentially unbounded, although of course with BSV right now there is still a few gigabyte limit on blocks, but
it's still bigger than competition.
It's only 2,000 times bigger than
that's big.
So than BTC. So that's why with BSV, if you make a payment and it's picked up by the miners, basically the miner is going to include it into a block.
So it's not like BTC where I'd have to actually rebroadcast with the higher fee for them to.
Yes, if your transaction doesn't get put into a block with BTC, which happens because there's limited space, and you might put a very low fee. When I say very low, instead of $10, you put $5.
But
now miners don't want to process that because they're looking at higher value transactions, and then yes, you'd have to rebroadcast, which is a terrible system. But BTC have decided to go ahead and do that, and it's one of the reasons why it probably won't ever survive as money or cash. But BSV doesn't have that problem. As soon as you receive that payment, at least as soon as that payment is seen by the miners and put into what's called the mempool, then you can have pretty much 100% confidence that Bitcoin transaction will be mined into a block. Now, of course, it's always dependent on the amount. You might want to just wait for one block, which is 10 minutes. But for most transactions, especially low value, casual transactions, me paying you for lunch or something, you can receive it. The thing about Centbee, though, is that it allows you to spend that BSV, even if it hasn't been confirmed into a block. That's what makes it so quick.
That's the coolest stuff about the blockchain, BSV blockchain. Man. But also, how I see it, like I've been always saying, like, with payment requests, just those microtransactions, like paying maybe a car guard, whether it's a street vendor, but basically just for those mini transactions that move quicker.
Definitely. That's the beauty of Bitcoin SV. That's what Satoshi Nakamoto wanted. He wanted something that could make what he called micro transactions or even nano transactions. So paying 1 cent to somebody is now possible because the fees are so low. And of course, Centbee is trying to position itself as a mobile money competitor to the traditional mobile money wallets out there in the world. And so one of the most important things about mobile money is being able to request payments from others. And so that's why Centbee has that feature. And like you said, it's a great way. If you have installed Centbee, and you know somebody who has some BSV, and you can go and request some money from them, and if they love you enough, they'll send you some BSV that you can try out. And
the coolest part is that just with that immediate payment, you can spend it immediately.
That's right. You don't have to wait for any blocks.
So guys, remember to check out the Centbee app on the stores. I mean, payment requests. Request payments, get paid in BSV, get to explore the power of blockchain of BSV, guys, with Centbee. So check it out on the store, subscribe, show some love. You know the drill by now. Mobile money on fire. Ms. G, as we enter our second segment, last week we were talking about, bringing down the government. And, we were talking about the government having like full-on like transparency view of the blockchain transactions and everything, But I'm sure like there is a little bit of sort of like discomfort when it comes to that because one of our users commented on the show, and it actually highlights like the concern, because what he's saying is that this is Toby and Cummins on last week's episode. So he's saying, but I also think the privacy offered by cash can't be fully appreciated. He says, I don't want every chocolate bar I ever purchase recorded on the blockchain.
So this is now what has become something that is completely, again, misunderstood around Bitcoin, and he used the word privacy there. And we see how a big deal is made out of privacy and Bitcoin. And in fact, a lot of the reason why crypto exists is because people like Toby and Cummins think that when something is on a blockchain and it's transparent, it means that all your information, all your transactional information, everything you're buying chocolates, suddenly is on the blockchain, and we'll have now people spying.
Geez, that would be crazy, because imagine if like your whatever grocery list is now on the blockchain, and then now a doctor can easily, or whatever insurance company, a health insurance company can easily like access that, and that's quite invasive.
So this is one of the big misunderstandings around Bitcoin, and why we have an entire crypto industry that is focused on, in their words, privacy. They believe that Bitcoin is not private because it is transparent. And so we now see a whole number of cryptocurrencies out there that are trying to take Bitcoin and, in their minds, make it more private. Because of this thinking where if my transaction is now on a transparent blockchain that can be downloaded by anybody, that means there's no privacy anymore, and somebody can see your groceries and the things you're spending on. And that is something that is one of the big misunderstandings. And when we look at these so-called privacy coins, and there are a number of them like Dash and Monero and Zcash, they are not actually trying to make a cryptocurrency that is more private. What they're trying to do is they are trying to make a cryptocurrency that is anonymous. And there's a very big difference.
A big difference, Mr. G, because I wanted to say that this is another factor of the narrative hijacking. Like, people want to push that narrative because, again, it fits their agenda.
Yes, so now let's go and try and get down to the bottom of this and figure out what is the difference between being private and being transparent in a way public that everybody can see your information.
Yeah.
Now, there's a very important word that we often bring up on the show, which is pseudonymity or pseudonymous.
Yeah.
When something is pseudonymous, it means that you can see what's going on, but you don't know what it's about or who it relates to. And Bitcoin is a public, transparent ledger where your transactions can get recorded and do get recorded to this public ledger and it's not encrypted. That's why it's not a cryptocurrency. But because it's pseudonymous, it means that the information, I mean, you can see the transactional information, amounts and addresses, but you don't know where that information, what it relates to, who does it relate to. Satoshi said that we don't have identities on the blockchain. They are firewalled from the blockchain, meaning that the identities of the people transacting on the blockchain and why they are transacting is not on the blockchain, only the raw transaction information. And so Bitcoin is already a private system. And an important thing about being private means that you can create transactions, you can do whatever you like, and nobody will know what you're doing unless there is a reason for, and it's typically law enforcement or something like that, to be able to come in and say, all right, we want to now understand what you're doing because we have a legal right. Who knows, maybe there's a warrant or something. And they can say, show us your transactions because we know your identity and we want to now be able to link those identities to the blockchain transactions. And that's the nature of the pseudonymous blockchain, meaning that you can be private, your transactions can be confidential, and also the way Satoshi said that you should use Bitcoin is you shouldn't do what people often do where they put Bitcoin addresses on websites and say, here's my donation address. You know, some websites do that. They say, you can donate to us and here are our addresses. And immediately when they do that, they've just now said, here we are and here's our addresses. And so now we've created a link between the two and you can identify that address, which means now anybody can go and look at that address and they can see coins coming in, money coming in.
All the transactions.
They can see all the transactions because now they have the ability not only to view that address, but also because of the guy putting it on his website, being able to link that identity.
That's actually not so smart.
No, it's not so smart. And Satoshi Nakamoto said, don't reuse those addresses. Because if I give you an address to pay to, and that's normally in a typical Bitcoin transaction, then what will happen is you will now have the address that I have in my wallet, and you will be able to monitor that address on the blockchain explorer. And any money that gets received in that, you will see. And you can look there and be like, whoa, Lorien's making a lot of money. And so this is why it's so important. If you want to maintain privacy on a blockchain, you don't go and reuse those addresses. And just by the nature of Bitcoin, the way it was intended to be used, where we have millions of transactions and none of those addresses being reused, it means that Bitcoin by default is private.
It is.
Unless, of course, you make that effort to go and identify yourself on the blockchain by linking an identity, by saying, these addresses belong to me, these transactions are mine, and now that I've given you that information, if it's, as I said, a law enforcement, they can come in and say, all right, now we've got your transactional information, we've got your addresses, we can go and do the tracing if we want to. We were talking in the last week's episode about how Bitcoin is a positive tool for government. Because they can use it to get more visibility into transactions of interest. And for them, they have a regulatory role. And whether you like that or not, it's just the way it is. Governments want to regulate, especially around payments.
They have to.
That's what they do, and there's nothing we can do about it. And also, when it comes to law enforcement, they want to be able to trace payments and capture criminals. So Satoshi Nakamoto, in his brilliance, realized we can't have an anonymous system because those have always failed in the past. And of course, no regulator is going to allow that. So let's create a transparent system that is private. And Bitcoin already has that built in. Now, that concept is completely lost.
It is.
On crypto. They think that Bitcoin is not private. Even guys like Andreas Antonopoulos, who is very well known for educating people on Bitcoin and Ethereum, he's got books and everything. In fact, we'll post a clip of him where he conflates the two concepts. He says,
anonymity or privacy is not a one bullet solution. There's no silver bullet for this. Buying Bitcoin from an exchange because they require KYC and ID and all kinds of other things that not only erodes your privacy because that Bitcoin is going to be tracked and associated with that identity, but it also exposes you to identity theft because in many cases you're dealing with small startups that cannot do information security. The second best is to buy Bitcoin from some kind of Bitcoin ATM. But of course, Bitcoin ATMs also sometimes require ID, or they require a smartphone, a cell phone number to verify you, or they're in places where there are, closed circuit TV cameras all around you, or other people who may see who you are. And you don't really want to go into a mall where there's a Bitcoin ATM with a low hat over your head and a hoodie over you and kind of look around suspiciously. Then you're the cartoon villain. There's all kinds of other things you can do that involve various forms of privacy improving tools known as mixers or CoinJoin, CoinSwap, and things like that, including trading cryptocurrencies of one kind for another kind in decentralized markets. Now, those may or may not be legal depending on your jurisdiction, and I'm not going to give you legal advice. You can think of privacy very similarly to financial independence and sovereignty. Opting out of the system of surveillance traditional finance is step one. And then you can start climbing up the ladder. Every step is worthwhile.
He's talking about private transactions. He says private or anonymous. In other words, he's putting the two words to mean the same thing. And all these people in crypto now who are advocating for private coins, like Monero and that, they keep on using the word private. But what they actually mean is anonymous.
Anonymous, yeah.
And anonymous means you don't know what's going on. You don't know, you can't trace payments.
Just gain those transactions.
It's all just mixed up in there. And of course, a very topical thing right now is what are called these coin mixers, where they are trying to specifically obfuscate and hide away.
Sort of tumbling.
A cryptocurrency mixer, also known as a virtual currency mixer, is a service that makes cryptocurrency transactions anonymous by mixing traceable coins with coins from other sources before sending them to their destination wallet. Individuals who want their transactions to be anonymous pay the mixers between 1% and 3% of the entire amount of coins they wish to mix. These coins are sometimes called dirty or tainted coins. The mixer takes the coins from the user's wallet, sends them to thousands of other wallets, then sends them back to the recipient's wallet. This makes it almost impossible to trace the coin's source. Blockchain technology records all transactions on a public ledger, so cryptocurrency funds can be traced to the wallet they came from. This makes it difficult for people to conduct completely anonymous transactions. Cryptocurrency mixers solve this problem by mixing different streams of potentially identifiable cryptocurrency, making transactions that are untraceable.
Tumbling transactions so that you can't trace payments. So this is something that users, when they look at something like Bitcoin, and when we say Bitcoin SV is a transparent ledger that can be audited, it doesn't mean that people are now going to check your grocery list. But it does mean that you can be private and confidential, but in the event that something happens, whatever that reason is, where law enforcement want to know more about something, they can now go and do the tracing.
It's accessible, yeah.
And that is how Bitcoin SV is going to be, again, not just tolerated in the world and instead of clamped down on, but also adopted by governments and regulators.
I mean, like we covered in the previous episode, Mr. G, like it's a no-brainer for us, you know, like how the BSV blockchain fits into every industry, like we said, and it will make a lot of sort of services from the government itself more efficient, record keeping or whatever, but more efficient, you know.
Yes. And so that can bring up a story now where just recently some developers who were building a service that could make that traceability of Bitcoin break that.
Okay.
And these services have been popular in the crypto sphere because what people have seen from the beginning, and this is why Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin has been rejected in a way by crypto, is that they saw that Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin was traceable and pseudonymous. And when Bitcoin started being used and people wanted to use it in the dark web, they wanted to donate to WikiLeaks or whatever it was, they immediately could see that Bitcoin is not going to be a good service when it comes to being able to hide your payments from the government. And being able to have what's called uncensorable payments. You know, that's again their word, meaning that they don't want to be stopped to be able to give money to whomever they like. And so what we've really seen over the last 10 years of crypto's history is trying to find a way to break Satoshi Nakamoto's design so that transactions cannot be traced. And what we have at the moment are companies out there, at least developers out there, because clearly when it comes to hiding the provenance of transactions, in other words, where money has flown, you know, legitimate businesses can't engage in this. But there have been developers out there who have created tools and smart contracts to be able to create services so that users, when they use cryptocurrency, can hide their payments.
Isn't that illegal though?
It certainly is. And recently, Tornado Cash was a set of smart contracts in what's called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. I mean, that's another whole topic we can have.
It's quite funny, like how they come up with these acronyms. Like they sound so sophisticated. You swear like it's legit stuff, right?
Yes. Well, the point of these things is that they are not people-driven organizations.
Definitely.
What they are is a set of computer code in what's called a smart contract that will then do operate some kind of logic or do something. And Tornado Cash created a set of these smart contracts on Ethereum. And what you could do without having people operate it, that's why they call them autonomous. Autonomous means runs on its own. They just auto run according to the rules created in the smart contract. And so people were able to send money to these smart contracts. And then what would happen is all that money would get mixed up and then payment could be made out of it. So if I want to hide a payment from me to you, what I can do is I can send money to the smart contract. Those coins will then get mixed up with a whole lot of other users' coins. And then the amount that I want to pay you will then come out of that. But now there will be no link
directly
between the transaction that you received
from you
and me. And Tornado Cash got sanctioned and the guys got arrested, and recently now Samurai Wallet, the same thing. And a lot of people in crypto are kind of mad about this and complaining about this because they think, hang on, these guys are just writing code. It's not like they are operating a business behind the scenes where they're receiving cash over the counter and then putting it in suitcases and sending it all over the place. This was just software code. And there's this other misunderstanding around these things, these smart contracts, where people think, well, if it's written in the code and it can just run autonomously, that means nobody's got any liability because are you going to arrest some code? So this is just, again, what we're starting to see is more and more these types of services that are going out of their way to try and anonymize transactions and try and break the original idea of a transparent, decentralized ledger with traceability. They're starting to get shut down. And the reality of crypto nuts out there is that this is a technology that is stoppable and it is censorable. And if you are doing illegal things like trying to mix up your transactions, you are going to be found out and you're going to be arrested, and it's going to be the end for you. And another thing that's important about these mixes is that if you let's say you did some money laundering, let's say you did some crime, and the feds are on your trail, you know, the guys, the Secret Service, they're following you. What happens is when you deposit money into these tumbling services and there is taint on that money, in other words, that money is now linked to criminal operations or something. What actually happens is when you put money into those tumblers and those coins get mixed up, it actually taints the whole batch of coins in those tumblers. And that means now every one of those coins are now linked to the criminal activity. So if you are a beneficiary of any of those coins that come out of it, you are now holding illicit funds.
Because essentially, if maybe someone was sending, some cash to a terrorist through a tumbling service, and then you innocently maybe trying to score a side gig and you get paid, but you don't want it to be traced, already you are implicated.
Exactly.
Jeez.
And just the way you said it is exactly how it's posed. This is for normal people who just want to have a bit of privacy. They don't want people to see that they're buying something, and that's allowed, of course. There's nothing illegal about trying to hide your transactions from people. Of course, I mean, everybody wants privacy and you deserve it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Governments don't have a problem with you being private. But if you are anonymous, then that's when the problem happens. And these tumbling services, these mixing services or coin join services that try and mix up illegal coins into legal coins, it's not making the legal coins clean, it's not washing them, it's really dirtying everything. It's like when you put a red sock into your clean white shirts.
Everything is stained.
Everything gets stained, and now everybody who's involved in those transactions is going to be in trouble.
Because essentially what they were trying to do is sort of like replicate the actual money laundering schemes that exist, but automatically you can't wash it because, like you're saying, already it being in there has been tainted.
Yes, exactly.
Earlier on, CoinDesk published an article about Wasabi Wallet, and they're saying the developer is blocking US citizens and residents after the Samurai Wallet arrest.
Right, there we go. You see, so what's happening now is in America, because of these arrests, the Samurai Wallet and the Tornado Cash, clearly we can see how regulation is coming out after these types of services.
They have to, though.
Yes, and even though the guys who run these services are saying, look, it's got nothing, we're not running this system, we're not running this business, we're just providing code, we're just providing apps. Now the thing is that's not holding water, and Wasabi Wallet is now clearly looking at this and saying, well, they don't want to get arrested. And if America is going to be clamping down on these tumbling services, these coin joining services, then they want out. And this is just the reality. Again, I mean, we can't say it enough on the show that technology, no matter what kind of crypto you've got, whether you've got Monero, which is anonymous, and Zcash and Dash, that's not going to save you. Government is coming and regulation is coming. And if you are doing something that they deem to be illegal, there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's no technology, there's no blockchain, there's no millions of nodes running that are not mining on Raspberry Pis around the world. Those are not going to save people from being able to transact in crypto and to remain hidden. So that is the reality, and Wasabi Wallet sees that. And they don't want trouble. And this is just one of the dominoes that are falling. And eventually, every country is going to have rules around your transactions and your coins. And if you are using a coin join service or a tumbling service or a mixing service, you are going to be stopped. If you're providing that service, you're going to be arrested. This is just the first of a few that are going to turn into a tsunami, and regulation is coming. So the best thing for crypto people is to stop thinking that they can do this. They can build a technology that becomes unstoppable.
Yeah.
Rather try and look at Bitcoin, look at Satoshi Nakamoto's invention and say, why did Satoshi do this? Why did he create a ledger? Why did he create a ledger that is distributed and public and transparent? Why did he do that? Did he do it because he didn't foresee that privacy or whatever it is that these people are trying to push? We know it's an anonymity.
Yeah.
Didn't he see that? Wasn't he thinking about that? And when we look at Bitcoin's design, people who falsely think Satoshi was a crypto cypherpunk, look at Satoshi's invention, and everything about it shows you how Satoshi Nakamoto didn't want to create an anonymous system that would get shut down.
But it's so clear from every angle that you sort of analyze it, Mr. G. Like we were saying, we don't think there's any current technology that has been thought of like thoroughly, like the BSV blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect tool for so much, and if you just look at it as a tool that works within the regulatory constraints around transactions, then you're not going to be constantly spending time trying to change the protocol. Just like BTC. BTC want to have an anonymous system. And one of the first things they did there was, apart from keeping the blocks small, is to create segregated witness. And SegWit, or segregated witness, was just a way to remove the signatures out of the transactions, thereby making it anonymous. If a transaction is not signed, well, there's no connection to a person, and it's,
that already doesn't sound like the original protocol.
Certainly not, isn't. Satoshi intended signatures to be attached to transactions. Exactly. So crypto, BTC, even to a point Bitcoin Cash, they are trying to anonymize Bitcoin. And they falsely believe that they can do this. That once they've got this technology worked out, then there's nothing going to stop them. But the reality, when we look at companies, the guys from Samurai, the guys from Tornado Cash, we look at the people at Wasabi freaking out and getting skittish and blocking access to US citizens to their service, you can see that the writing is on the wall. And it's not going to last forever in this gray zone. Eventually, all these guys are going to get shut down.
I think this is actually the time, like they should straighten themselves out, because there has been like a lot of ripple effects regarding regulation around crypto. I mean, from your ETFs, from Binance, like we can see that it's an ongoing conversation.
Yes. In fact, the irony is that on one hand, crypto want institutional. They want institutional investors. They want ETFs. They want BlackRock to invest in crypto because then the bags of theirs, just grow in value. So on one hand, they want institutional investors, they want acceptance. But on the other hand, they are trying to create systems like Samurai's mixing to anonymize transactions, to skirt around regulations. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have institutional investors coming in and wanting to buy Bitcoin, and on the other hand, trying to find ways to anonymize Bitcoin transactions and to also make the protocol unstable. What do you think institutions are going to do? They're not going to look at this as a stable, long-term thing.
Wouldn't even put their money in there.
Of course not, unless they're just wanting to go for short-term bit of money making, which is mostly what it seems with all these guys getting into crypto. They just want to make some money while the sun is shining. So this is a big misunderstanding in crypto. The difference between being private and being anonymous. All these tumblers, all these coin join services, all these mixers are making your transactions illegal. And they're coming after the guys from Samurai, they're coming after the guys from Tornado Cash, Wasabi is probably next, but then they're going to come for you. If you are transacting through mixers and your coins get mixed up in some terrorist coins, well, guess what? You are an accomplice, and they're going to come for you too. So I'm going to highly encourage users out there, if you think that you're going to be safe by using these mixers and you're going to be private, then you're mistaken. And all that's going to happen is you're going to be painting a big target on your back. And this is the thing about blockchain, is once the information is there, it's there forever. You can't go back and say, whoops, I'm sorry. Just delete those records.
Snap.
The crime that you have engaged in unknowingly, but now after this episode, hopefully now you know better, you are now facilitating criminal proceeds being laundered through these services. You can be sure that every single time your coins go into a tumbler, there are some illicit coins in there from something.
And also, I think the regulators like now are hard on check because they need to crack it down. They're
doing it.
Yeah.
Like whether you like it or not, they're coming for everybody. I mean, the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, they're putting pressure on countries to start cracking down on businesses engaging in crypto and facilitating crypto payments. Centbee is going through the licensing process. A lot of crypto companies in this country have received their licenses, meaning now that they are going to have to submit anti-money laundering reports and terrorist financing stuff. So it is coming. And it's coming in a global way, where eventually, if you are using or if you are providing a service that can skirt around the basic rules around payments, which are traceability, you are going to be the one who gets used as an example.
Gee, that's scary because I'm quite sure like a lot of people are just out there, thinking they're doing it innocently, like they're just moving their coins and stuff, but not actually considering the illegal aspect of it. I mean, a lot of people are going to be arrested for such activities.
Yes, well, I mean, we've seen it now. Guys like the developers who are around the world, they're being hunted down. And if you're using these services, you're next. That is the reality of it. You don't have to worry about Bitcoin being private. It is. If you are using your Bitcoin addresses once, so you don't go and publicize your Bitcoin address on a website. If you do what Satoshi says and you use your addresses once, the whole system is private. There are millions of transactions going through Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin SV, because of the large block size and the low cost on the transactions. And so your transactions are by default private. Nobody can see what you're doing. The only person who knows what you've done is the person that you've actually transacted with. But if you start thinking you need to use services like these coin join services, then immediately you are now going to raise a flag. And if evidence of that mixing is on your record somewhere and you get found out, you're in big trouble. And there's nothing you can do about it because that information is on the blockchain. It's immutably stored forever.
And that's also one thing I wanted to highlight. Like you were saying, that if you engage in whatever activity, it's immutably recorded.
It's recorded for all time.
We can go back in time and actually see an activity you were once a part of, an illegal activity.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so that's our advice to you. And Toby and Cummings, thanks for that comment, by the way, Toby. I appreciate you commenting on the show. Please do, if you guys have questions, if we say something that makes you uncomfortable or you're not really sure about, then just leave a comment down below. We'll answer it. I mean, I answered Toby there. I gave him, was it Toby? I can't remember. I answered somebody who had I think it was Toby.
It was Toby, yeah.
And I tried to write a very comprehensive explanation there. So if you do have a question, please just leave it in the comments and we'll definitely get back to you on that.
Cool, sure. Thanks for that, Mr. G. I mean, that was quite insightful, like every week, at least getting to explain and be more clearer in terms of Bitcoin SV privacy, like people understanding that the blockchain is private, but it's not anonymous.
Correct. Big difference.
Yeah. Cool, thanks. Yeah, as we're stepping into our third segment, our user questions and feedback, our first one comes from Venom Eagle. So they are asking, is 12 minutes to confirm a transaction on the BSV blockchain considered fast?
Okay, so he's talking about confirm a transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, one of the important things to remember is that the way transactions are confirmed is that they are mined into a block, and blocks take, on average, 10 minutes to be mined into a block. But the cool thing about BSV is that you don't need to wait for it to be mined into a block before you can use it. So the Bitcoin transactions are fast, because as soon as you broadcast them to the network and the miners pick them up, then it's as good as confirmed. Because the fact that the block sizes are massive means that there's no contention to get into a block like there is with BTC. With BTC, there's a very limited amount of space for blocks, and so your transaction gets put into a block. But BTC works the same. It's also every 10 minutes per block. The only difference with BTC is that if your transaction is not in a block, it's not guaranteed that it will go into the block. And that's why they have that system called replace by fee. Which means that you post your transaction and it sits there, nobody wants to mine it, and it just gets left behind and ignored. Now, the person receiving that money is going to feel uncomfortable because they're going to say, hang on, what if you broadcast this transaction with a low fee and it never gets mined? I'm never going to receive my money. But BSV isn't like that. So BSV, you don't even have to wait your 10 minutes to get into the block. As soon as it gets detected on the network, it is as good as mined, which means that, and in the Centbee's case, you will be able to immediately spend your BSV. So BSV is instant. 12 minutes to confirm a transaction, that's not fast or slow. That's the average block that was defined in the protocol itself. So that's what confirming is, and that's why it can take sometimes 3 minutes, 4 minutes to get into a block. It can sometimes take 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour, depending on the difficulty and who's mining. But as long as it's put into a broadcast into the network and miners pick it up and it has some kind of fee, no matter how small, then you can be just about guaranteed that it will get processed. So I'm going to say that BSV, for most value transactions, it's instant.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Venom. Our second one comes from Connor Ellis, and they are saying, hi. Thank you for developing Centbee for BSV, and I hope you are not discouraged by some of the reviews. I think the wallet is very cool. That's cool, man.
Awesome, Connor. Thank you very much. I appreciate that encouragement. I mean, we are little dogs in this big dog fight because, of course, crypto, it's so huge and so popular, and there's all these cool kids flexing their cryptos and their Lambos, and BSV is not trying to be all crypto cool. We are trying to be humble. We have very humble goals where we just want to create a wallet that is simple to use and fun to use and has very low transaction costs and can be helpful to your parents, sending money home to your family, shopping on things that you can't really shop, sending money peer-to-peer. You talked about, in the informal economy, if you want to pay somebody something very small for something on the side of the road or whatever, that's what Centbee is about. That's what BSV is about.
Definitely.
And unfortunately I'm talking about the whole of BSV, gets a lot of flack because we are trying to follow the rules. We keep saying, we want to comply with the rules around government. We're not trying to skirt around government.
We are the uncool dudes.
We're the uncool guys because we want to do it legit. We want to create a legit tool that is legal, that if there's a rule around anti-money laundering, and we want to follow that rule because we believe that the only way Bitcoin is going to be able to make a difference in people's lives is if people have access to it. And the only way they can have access to it is if there's nothing sketchy going on, if we're not doing anything illegal. But of course, that's totally uncool because in crypto, they want to be fighting the government. They want to reject the rules. They don't want to follow rules around money laundering. They want to money launder themselves.
In fact, scrap that, Mr. G. I think we're the coolest because, it's easy for anyone to, push the narrative that they're pushing, it's hard to actually, abide by the rules, and we've kept it by the rules. And I think for me, that's a cool element, because, for you to follow the rules and still be building cool stuff, that's hella cool, man.
Yes, but it also means we have longevity because we are not going to be shut down like Samurai or Tornado Cash or Wasabi or whatever it is because the regulators don't have any problem with us. And this is exactly what Friedrich Hayek, the famous Austrian economist, said. If you want to take money out of the hands of the government, you got to do it quietly until it's too late to stop. Well, the fact that we are creating a tool that is quiet, it's not going out of its way to be illegal. We are ticking every box.
Straight.
And so when regulators look at us, they say, there is a responsible Bitcoin company. Now we can see how Bitcoin can be used in day-to-day lives. We don't only have all this anarchist messaging, which is mostly what regulators are hearing about how crypto is there to bring them down or make their jobs harder. We are showing regulators how easy it is to have visibility on Bitcoin, to have some oversight and control so that they can be comfortable and allow more Bitcoin companies to be created. So our job is not just to get users, but it's to try and educate regulators and show them the real value of Bitcoin for themselves, and try and counter this whole completely wrong and misguided narrative that's out there that Bitcoin is there to bring down the government. Watch our last show, by the way, if you want to hear more about that. So Connor, thanks. I mean, that was really cool. We do appreciate your encouragement. Sometimes it does feel like we're getting the attacks, and but we're not being disheartened. For users like yourself from comments like that, I'm feeling pretty pumped right now.
We're soldiering on, definitely, Mr. G. We're still keeping the fight going, definitely. Thanks, Connor. Mr. G. So we only have 2 for this week. So I think we've come to the end of the show.
Okay, great stuff. Well, I hope that was clear to everybody, talking about the differences between privacy and anonymity. Bitcoin SV, Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin, is private. That's the whole point. But it's not anonymous. And if you think about it, that's where badness creeps in. If you have an anonymous system, then that's just going to be a honeypot for criminals, and it's going to ruin everybody's day and everybody's lives. You know, having criminals all over the systems that we want to use is not going to make it easier for us. It's going to constantly have regulators and law enforcement breathing down everybody's necks, and it's going to make them uncomfortable. So just get over this idea, realize the difference, and stop listening to these guys who are shilling these privacy coins, like the guys at Monero and Dash, and even people from the tweets we've read. Don't get confused. When they talk about privacy, they're not talking about privacy. They are talking about straight up anonymity. And you can be sure Monero and Dash, none of these currencies are ever going to achieve any kind of widespread adoption. They're always going to be underground. They're always going to be used by people in a way that's not useful to anybody. You're not going to have merchants accepting it. Maybe 1 or 2 places, but it's not going to be
wildly adopted.
So if you are investing in Monero because you think it's the next big thing, it's the next dead thing. You're fighting a losing battle. It's just plain to see. So trust in Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, really, so far nobody has done anything better than what Satoshi created.
It's evident.
Everybody's just on this path thinking that they can create the next crypto that's going to be the next big thing. Satoshi Nakamoto understood what he was doing. He knew exactly what it took to create a system that not only could make life better, but also would fit within all the rules. And it wasn't anonymous, it was private. In fact, even if you go look back in history, the reason why these cryptocurrencies and digital cash, I mean, it's not the first, Bitcoin wasn't the first. All these others that have come before failed because they were anonymous. So look at history, you'll learn something there. Thanks, Kage. Thank you very much.
Sure,
it was great to be here on the show again. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Centbee Show. Please like and subscribe and get the word out that if you want to understand Bitcoin SV, Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin, and you want to try and avoid all the pitfalls and all the false narratives and misunderstandings in that is being spewed out by crypto, if you want to get the facts, if you want to understand what's going on, then definitely keep watching. But thanks very much for joining us here on the Centbee Show. Please come back soon. Let's get some faces.